Thank you.
Dear guests, dear colleagues, in the end, it was a human decision. A decision taken in time of fear, conflict, and war. A decision whose consequences humanity continues to carry to this day. In a single moment, more than 100,000 lives were lost or irrevocably changed. Countless others endured decades of physical suffering and psychological trauma. Lives that did not distinguish between soldier or civilian, between adult or child, between those who fought and those who simply lived, and those who fought in the resistance. War is devastating. And yet such a moment does not stand alone. It is shaped by the years that preceded, years in which communication falters, years in which trust erodes, years in which opportunities for dialogue have been missed. If we wish to honor the memory of Nagasaki, we must not look only at the single moment, but at the silence, the mistrust, and the absence of dialogue that allowed it to happen. If we want to build a different future, we must choose differently. And there is always an opportunity to make a different choice. Yesterday, the survivor, Mr Seiichiroh Mise, shared with us a profound message during his deeply moving testimony. Do you remember what was written on the screen? Peace is a world heritage to be shared by all humanity. Peace does not belong to one nation. It's not the property of one generation. It is the shared inheritance of humankind. And like all heritage, it must be protected, nurtured, and passed on. Do you remember when we asked what his message to the leaders of the world would be? He had a simple answer. Talk to one another. Communicate. And that is precisely where our responsibility begins. As professional guides, we do more than accompany visitors. We explain history, including its complexity and its contradictions. We provide context where misunderstanding could easily take root. We connect cultures where distance might otherwise create division. We explain, we connect, and we give context. And in doing so, we shape perception. This is influence, and influence is responsibility. Especially now, as the voices of eyewitnesses grow fewer, as survivors age, as memories becomes the responsibility of those who did not witness, but who must be remembered. It will be our responsibility to ensure that remembrance does not fade, that context is not lost, that humanity remains at the center of the story. We, as World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations, are currently revising our code of guiding practice to strengthen even further the ethical responsibility of our profession, our commitment to human dignity, to impartiality in our role, to cultural sensitivity, and to truth. But there is the next questions we have to ask ourselves. How do we recognize truth? Where do we look for it? Whom do we listen to? And how do we remain open in times shaped by social media bubbles, by selective narratives, and by deliberate propaganda? Truth does not shout the loudest. It requires encounter. It requires humility. It requires the willingness to look behind our own certainty. As guides, we are trained to look closely, to examine sources, to provide context, to distinguish between perspective and fact. We must encourage critical thinking, respectful dialogue, and the courage to question simplified answers. In a world of algorithms that divide, we must create spaces that connect. Because when people travel, they step outside their familiar surroundings. They step outside their usual perspectives. They are often more open to new ideas, new interpretations, new understanding. In those moments, our word matters. We must not remain silent, not when history is distorted, not when suffering is minimized, not when human rights are questioned. We must speak truthfully, carefully, courageously. We are often called peace ambassadors, and our logo shows two hands reaching towards one another, a simple image of encounter and guidance. But a symbol alone does not create space and peace. Peace is responsibility. Responsibility for the way we tell history. Responsibility for the context we provide. Responsibility for the dignity of those stories we carry. From Nagasaki, a place where memory and hope meet, we affirm this responsibility. We do not leave with emotion alone. We leave from here with commitment. And therefore, we now sign the following peace declaration. I invite the Mayor, Seiichiroh Mise from KITG host, to sign the Nagasaki Peace Declaration. From Nagasaki, where memory and hope meet. Citizens of Nagasaki City and we, as professional tourist guides of WFTGA, ambassadors and peace, we speak. As interpreters of history and culture, we bear an ethical responsibility for our society and environment. Universal human rights are the foundation of our coexistence. This place reminds us to remain neutral, but never silent, and to provide sensitive education, including about the dark chapters of history, so that they may never be repeated.